In his encyclical letter, The Gospel of Life, Pope John Paul II wrote, "I would now like to say a special word to women who have had an abortion. Do not lose hope. The Father of mercies is ready to give you his forgiveness and his peace in the sacrament of reconciliation. And you will also be able to ask forgiveness from your child, who is now living in the Lord."
What's involved is restoring back to them their self-respect.
The pain has a way of speaking to us. And the post-abortion movement is receiving more and more and more women and men whose children have been aborted and who are now seeking that healing.
I'm a journalist and I work in public relations, so I had went to a conference in Chicago to write on Medjugorje. So I got to the conference and I looked up and there was the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And I was so excited because I thought, why would the tilma be here? You know, the tilma should be in Mexico. They don't let it travel, you know, that can't be the tilma. So I went up to see what it was, you know, and where it came from. And there were a lot of people standing around the image. And so, you know, and a lot of people, I remember this specifically, a lot of people didn't know the story of where Our Lady came from or what, you know, this image was. And I remember telling people the story because I was so excited. I had just read it and I just had learned about it myself and I thought this was so exciting. And so I remember sharing the story with the people and I had to laugh afterwards because I normally don't, well, at that time, I didn't talk a lot in public or to people a lot. And so anyway, I, you know, was attending the conference. Well, I wanted to find out more about the image, and I wanted to find out who brought the image there and where she came from. And so I totally forgot about Medjugorje, which was why I was there. And I asked who had brought her there. Well, they had told me that Dan Lynch had brought the image here. He was a National Guardian. In talking to Dan, he was explaining to me what the image was and where she came from and different things like that. And during the conversation, he talked about how Our Lady would stop abortion. And I thought, well, that's just silly. It's an image, you know. An image can't stop abortion. And I didn't understand at that time that the image is actually Our Lady. Our Lady is there in the image. And so I thought, well, okay, that's fine. And I didn't understand it all the way. And then I asked Dan, I said, well, you know, how is Our Lady going to do that? You know, how can an image stop abortion? And he told me that Our Lady would melt hearts. She would melt hearts. And when he said that, I thought, she'll melt hearts. And it just, something inside of me just changed. And I shared with Dan something that I hadn't shared with anyone in 10 years. And I shared with him that I had had an abortion. And to this day, I've spoke on this publicly, and I do speak on this, and to this day, it's still hard to actually say it. But I'd had an abortion, and I shared with Dan that I'd had an abortion, and I couldn't believe that I'd shared this with him because I had shared it with no one at all, that this had happened. You know, I remember when the doctor came in right beforehand, and you know, he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm not. You know, I don't know about this." And he said, "That's okay. It'll be all right." And there was like, you know, nobody cared that I said it's not okay. It was like, just get her through this and she'll be okay. And that's so wrong because they did get me through the abortion, but I wasn't okay. And I wasn't okay for a long time after that. And I carried that burden with me for 10 years, you know, and never told anybody what had happened or when it had happened or anything until Our Lady just showed me. Or I guess a better way to put it is that Our Lady placed in my heart, you know, God's mercy. So anyway, in telling Dan what had happened and about the abortion, he was, I'll just never forget the compassion and the peace and the acceptance that he gave me in allowing me to share this with him. But he knew that there were sacraments that were available that I had no idea that I needed. And so he got a priest. He went and got a priest. I remember he said, "Wait right here." "Wait right here, I'm gonna get a priest." And I thought, oh, don't get a priest. I thought, I'm gonna panic now. And I thought it was one thing telling Dan, it's another thing telling a priest. And it was okay, though. He got a priest, and the priest came, and I talked to the priest for quite a while. And I was able to confess, go to confession, get reconciliation. And right after that, there was a Mass. I remember that. There was a Mass right after that. And so the first time since my abortion, I could actually go to Mass and be free of the sin and go there with a clean heart, I guess, if you want to call it that, and know that Christ had forgiven me, that I had finally been forgiven.